while some of you may have started homeschooling, others are thinking about it, but you might also think, but I might need to work, but how does this work with my family dynamic? Well, I'm here with Brittany Young today. I'm so excited to chat all things work, homeschool, and family life together. Brittany has 4 kids, and she weaves in work and homeschool and running a farm, basically all in one. So Brittany, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the education space?
Absolutely. So I'm a mom of 4. My children range from 5 to 13. We've homeschooled for 4 years, and we run an organic wild blueberry farm. So that's always going on year round, even though our harvest season here in Maine is quite short. And we've been able to weave together homeschooling in our business, our web design, all these different aspects of our family farm into our homeschooling. And I decided to start creating unit studies and workbooks that I could share with others when I started sharing with friends. And they were like, you really need to sell these. You've put a lot of effort into them. They're great for families of multiple children in a wide range of ages. So that's kind of how it began.
That's amazing. Well, you've got so much going on, and I can relate. We also have 4 kids. We're also working from home. I think the farm aspect, we're like in the process. That's like next year for us. We already have the land. We're starting the house, that sort of thing. So we've got the trees already in there too, which is really exciting. But it's a whole nother kind of thing that we're kind of dreaming about. But that's a lot. There's a lot on your plate, and many people will stop you in the supermarket and say, wow, you got your hands full. But like, it's a whole life. It's a whole life that's full. So what are kind of top 3 things? If you could say there are 3 things that help you manage your time well as like a mom, a homeschooling mom, and a business owner, what would you say those 3 things are?
So for me, number 1, it's an ongoing joke in our family, but I have a million alarms going off at all times, because it could be the trash alarm, or you better leave for swim team alarm, or it's something like I need to update our business website. I have a new product I'm launching, or, anything for the children. So alarms is big. Then notes. Ongoing notes. If something pops into my head, it has to go in a note. And again, it could be something like order somebody soccer cleats, or it could be, this is a great idea. It's almost like brainstorming at all times. But if I don't write down, like, I need to buy this or I need to do this, it's just going to go out of my head, because with 4 children, as you know, you're getting it from all sides at all times. And I would be a mess otherwise. And then other than that, planning. I have always been a planner, but for me, we homeschool because our harvest season for our blueberries is in the summer. It's not feasible for us to stick to a strict schedule, because anything could affect our harvest season. So for us, we typically homeschool May, the last weekend of May, and we go right through August through April. And I find that if I spend the summer just having this Google Doc of ideas of what things I would like to accomplish for each grade level, then when the school year comes, I don't feel as intimidated. I already have a game plan in place. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe a curriculum wasn't best for us, or somebody's not into it. But I have this brainstorming idea running at all times. And in Maine, we also have a teacher review. I know everywhere is different, but it also allows me to go in and kind of do a bold mark of we completed this, or we switched this out. And then I'm able to provide that with the teacher for the review at the end of the year. Yes. And I'm already ready to go. So those are my best options.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, well, the alarms, I totally agree.
Yes.
Like, my alarms are all distinct. We have a couple other like defunct phones that our kids use for like, hey, piano lessons done, or this. And so they're like, Mom's alarm. Mom, what is that for? Is it cookies? Is it whatever? But totally. And the idea, I mean, even things with like dentist appointments, like I'll set alarms for that. So if people are listening to this and thinking like, how do you manage all of this? This is just momming 101, I think, which in 2023, it's different. And you do need to kind of manage it all. So I think alarms are fantastic. Do you use Google Notes at all? Or no,
I haven't.
I'm sorry.
Google I haven't tried it. No,
that's awesome. So wherever you guys are right now, open up Gmail, and on the right side, there's a little yellow light bulb. And it's basically like sticky notes, and then you can pin them on there, and you can click and open those and like copy paste stuff in there.
Perfect, because I have real sticky notes everywhere. So that's
same.
Better.
And they keep blowing away with everything. And so I'm just like, I need a physical thing or a permanent thing, but that's really helpful, especially as a business owner too.
Yes.
You know, we're always copying links, copying posts, copying whatever we're doing. And it's really nice to not have to go into the actual website or whatever.
Yes, I'm excited to try this.
So, very helpful. Awesome. And then I love the idea of planning.
Yes.
I'm similar. I have like a Google Doc where I just throw stuff
Right.
when I get a freebie from somebody, when I, have a stroke of brilliance and I'm like, oh, of course we're going to use this curriculum in 3 years for
Yes.
11th grade history or whatever. And I just need to like get it in there so that I don't buy curriculum when I don't need to. I mean, it's just stuff like that helps you manage again, and that'll affect your finances too.
Absolutely.
So that you're not double buying or whatever. So totally feel that. Okay. What about the idea of somebody who's struggling to get into the idea of homeschooling multiple kids? I know this was a big fear of mine because I was like, what are the littles going to do? How am I going to pay attention to everybody who needs the attention? What do you find helps a lot with that?
Well, for me, I've been a little bit in this planning phase since I've been married, because my husband actually is a marine engineer. So he's gone half of our lives. So I'm the only person here. I'm the snow plower. I'm the cooker, like I do it all by myself. So that is our unique situation, but we found a way to make it work. So I am used to a lot on my plate at one time, but I would say why I started creating, especially our workbook options, is sometimes I have to say to my daughter, I want to listen to this essay that you wrote. I want to sit with you and work on it, but I just need 5 minutes to get your brother started on something. Can you just give me that? And then she's like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to go into this workbook, or I'm going to read, a chapter in my book while I wait. So the workbooks are great, especially for younger children, because for me, it's life-saving. I can even have my preschooler sit there and cut and paste something for a couple minutes. And that allows me to meet the needs of all my children, because I think that's the biggest concern is when you're working from home or you're a working parent, is meeting the needs of your children and making sure everybody feels their needs are being met and that everybody's happy and you made the right choice. And so I found these little things along the way that work. And for us, it's those workbooks and allowing our children just a few minutes. And, we all learn patience as we go. We all do. Yeah. So, and, whether that's like 5 cold cups of coffee later, but you're like, you know what, if you could just be patient for a minute. So it's a learning curve, but I would say it's 100% doable. You are not going to check all of your boxes. And I'm somebody who likes to check those boxes. It's not going to happen. I've gotten better with age and better each year we homeschool that, you know what, if we don't get to that today, there's nobody beating on our door saying, you have to do this at this time. We can spend as much time or as little time on something. And that's another reason why I love unit studies and why I started creating unit studies is there's no set time limit. You can work at your own pace. You can work at the needs of your child and meet them where they are. Some children are really into one aspect of a unit study. The others could care less and they want to do something completely different. But it allows you to have that core foundation of a lesson plan. And then you can kind of branch off in all these different directions as a family, but you're all still kind of in that same mixing pot of information. So
yeah, I love it. Okay. And you guys, if you have not seen Brittany's chicken, we're going to get to it. That was like the most beautiful thing. I think that's what we connected on, because I was like, what is this? And I pulled my kids over and I was like, look at this. And she did this with her kids. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute, because that's kind of inspired me a little bit. So which I haven't shared with you yet, but it's kind of a really cool thing to think about for business owners and your, and your kids. But the idea of, I want to go back. I don't want to miss the idea of the communication aspect. Right. I was talking with somebody recently about like executive functions and like meeting the needs of kids at the moment, but like also helping them think ahead. Right. And so we were talking about, especially with multiple ages of kids, my kind of baseline, my boil it down to like, who do I pay attention to first was who's going to remember this? Yes. Who's going to feel slighted by this? Yes. Is the 2-year-old going to remember that I just gave her a hug and held her for a second and didn't answer her question while talking and giving eye contact to the 9-year-old? Yes. That's the right move in that moment for me, because I know she's going to remember it, or she's going to feel slighted if I turn to the younger sister. So I think that's one of the big keys too. So I love the idea of patience and having those backups. Absolutely. I think for older kids, the idea of a workbook or something that they can do if they're not of school age yet. I know I've made other videos about this, but like we have a whole
Yes.
cabinet in our kitchen that's just plastic stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, head to the kitchen cabinet.
Absolutely.
See what you can make.
Absolutely.
Stack some cups.
Yes.
You know, we've got different like Lego stations and magnet
Yes.
stuff and whatever. But the idea is to have a few things at least, like landing zones
Absolutely.
where the kid can
I
survive, be safe, and you don't feel like you're wasting
Right.
their time
Yeah.
here. So totally.
Yes. And I
Okay, I
feel
love
too,
it.
what goes hand in hand with that is with each year, your children are gaining a little bit more independence.
Yes.
Right now, my 13 and my 11-year-old, they're often up at 6:30. I don't require them to wake up at 6:30, but they have a drive in them even after these 4 years of doing this. They want to get math out of the way.
Yeah.
And then they want to do their language arts because they love getting some of those core subjects done because they know how exciting the afternoon can be or the other parts of the day can be, or we can go off and do something if they get that done. So that's like one question I get asked all the time is, just, are your kids sick of it? Like, are you sick of drilling it into them? And I said, I may be fortunate, but I don't have to. We all have bad days, of course, where somebody's struggling, but each year I think everybody gains a little bit more independence. And I like to remind our children of that. Like, hey, do you remember when last year I had to sit with you and basically hold your hand, like, please, let's do this. But now it's like, we don't even think about it anymore. And it's showing growth in them. And then they feel really proud about that. So
Absolutely.
I think that goes hand in hand with multiple children. And then sometimes utilizing your older child, like, hey, let's do reading buddies because, that works for now. Or can you do this with your younger sibling? And then everybody feels really special and included. So
absolutely. And some of those lower skilled tasks, could we say, I mean, can you switch the days out on the morning meeting board? Can you change yesterday was to, to Monday or whatever? And that's a kind of ownership thing too. So I love it. You're not alone. We may be the weird ones, but my kids do that too. Sometimes at night, like before bed, everybody else is taking longer. The older ones are like, can I get a couple pages of that?
Yes, I always have one that I'm like, you're going to do fantastically in college if you decide to go that route because you are a night owl.
Amazing. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Very cool. Well, I like the idea of the farm life. And I feel like I grew up going to my grandparents' farm, but I'm by no means a farm kid. So like I mentioned, we're kind of stepping into this in the next couple of years. What has been like an unexpected joy of like weaving farm life and homeschooling in? If people
sometimes it might sound strange, but sometimes those challenges actually come our most joy because I'll just use the example. We had this terrible fox that was picking off chickens left and right. We've had chickens since 2017. It has never been an issue. We'd had hawks attack once in a while, but this fox was so smart. And we started as a family researching, like, what can we do to either safely trap this fox and relocate it or call a game warden or whatever we need to do because our livestock is important. It's an important part of our farm. So sometimes those challenging aspects, we grow emotionally. And then we're also feeling like we're trying to outwit something here. And like, what can we do? Let's watch a documentary. Let's read about like fox behavior. So sometimes the challenging parts bring beautiful moments of learning for us. Other than that, I think having a business, our children are old enough now. For instance, we built our website ourselves. We maintain it ourselves. So I have some children that are really into the analytics of our website. And so they love to go into that back door and they don't know what everything means. And sometimes I don't either. But for the most part, they like to look at that. And those are the kids that are just like, he's so into numbers. And whether it's something for his swim team that he's trying to beat a time or our website. And then he comes up with great ideas. And I want him to know that, like, I value your time. I value your efforts. And I love that you're interested in this. And then I have a daughter that's very creative and artsy, and she wants to be into the design aspect of it, or she's the one in our chicken study that does a lot of the illustrations I used, and she's really proud of that. So I just think that as a farm, our children are paid for their time. We harvest all of our blueberries by hand. We don't use any equipment. So we use hand rakes or we're picking. So they are paid every single day. Each day too at the end of the day, because that motivates you to come back the next day and you don't sleep in. So that's one thing. And then they get paid for workbooks and the chicken study for us that they worked on. And so every time there's a sale. I've mentioned this before in some different places, but everyone cheers. They hear that little ding on my phone or the laptop, and it's like, yes, like everybody, it's like such a team effort. And I'm really proud of them for that. So it's kind of the good parts, the hard parts. Some days are really challenging, or I feel defeated as a business owner where you're like, oh, I really thought that was a product that people wanted. And then it's just not getting the feedback that you hoped for. And they're like, Mom, what if we reconfigure this? Or what if you try that? And I'm like, why didn't I ask?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The mouths of babes.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. Well, I love that. And I have started including my kids in how I create my products. We'll try stuff out on each other. We'll say, hey, what topic do you think? Hey, does this clip art look good? That sort of thing. But I just love how rewarding that is for them. So I know some people have done like young entrepreneurs markets and stuff like that, which would be really cool. We just don't have that where we live. But I think finding what you can, and we live in an amazing time for people with online businesses. So it's really cool to watch kids kind of noodle that. And I love the idea that
I do find we're naturally drawn to more nature type studies just because of our environment. I mean, we live in Maine, and whether it's winter or summer, there's so much going on. And my daughter last year for her birthday, I got her binoculars and a field guide of North American birds. And that was her favorite thing in the world. Like that was that little set. And she had a few other like art things to go with it. And to this day, she's still like, I think that was my favorite birthday. Like it was the best birthday. But again, it's like, it's what I have at hand. It didn't cost me a lot to get her binoculars or a field guide. And then the whole family gets involved. So we tend to take walks and just use what we have in nature sometimes. That it might sound a little cliche at times, but at the same time, there's so much to learn. Or observing, like the fox, like we had to, we're out there watching what his behaviors were. And so there's so much that just having a farm in general, there's so much that you can learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. Well, we've mentioned the backyard chicken study and the role that your kids had in it. What else would you say, people can find on your website, which is the Roost at Wolf Pine, right?
Yes.
And figuring out kind of how they can kind of get involved in what you guys are up to, because you've got a lot going on.
We do have a lot. So I started by sharing our journey homeschooling before I had any products that we were selling. Cool. And then I also developed recipes or share our family recipes. So that's something that I also weave into our backyard chicken study. I tell people, hey, go check out this quiche or these different recipes you can make with eggs. And so I have all these different ideas. So we do have a lot going on, but it's us. Like I always hear like, you should stick to this one area that you're good at. But that's not me, and that's not our life. I'm all over the place. So that's kind of a nice place, a nice hub. So we have recipes, we have blog posts, and then we have a wide range of whether it's holiday or seasonal workbooks that are inexpensive. They're affordable, but they're also fun for kids. They look forward to it. We get a lot of feedback with children saying, can you please make more of such and such page? Or can you do that? And it makes me feel so happy because my kids are the same way before I started creating products. So, and with the chicken study, it was important to me. I've bought in the past unit studies and they require you like 6 books. And that can be a lot because you don't know if it's going to be a hit. You don't know if your child is going to like it or if it's going to be a waste of money. And, maybe your library doesn't have options for those. Yeah. So it was important to me to take this one book, which was Chickenology, and just wrap this whole 7 lessons around that one book. And it's an affordable book. It's one that really we've had adults that follow us for our farm content on Instagram that have bought the Chickenology book. And they're like, I did not expect to learn so much. And they're so excited about it. And they're like, I never would have thought to buy a children's book had it not been for you sharing that. So it's kind of fun, but yeah, all aspects of our chicken study, I try to weave in even on our website, whether it's the recipes, we have YouTube videos of our chickens listening to classical music. That's something that people love. Yeah. They even do it with their other pets where they're like, my dog likes classical music. I had no idea. And so just a lot of like fun parts of it. So yeah, our website is mostly, we share about our blueberries. People love watching videos of our blueberry harvest on Instagram. I try to share stories every day, and then just our life here on the farm. So, and I'm always sharing new products that we are offering as well when I'm able to create them.
Well, you guys, even if you don't have homeschooled kids or whatever, your
Yeah.
Instagram is beautiful. So
Thank
I
you. Thank you.
just go follow Brittany and
Thank
follow
you.
Sam, because I love how you feature your kids too. It's really
Thank you.
beautiful and respectful. And I think for a lot of people who are trying to show our kids that bananas don't grow in the supermarket, they just
Right.
arrive there from somewhere else.
Yes.
Same thing with our eggs, things like that. So it's really important to know where our food comes from, and this is a
Yes.
really good way of doing that. So thank you from
You're
the
welcome.
parents who need things like this, and you've created an affordable and useful one. So I love it.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, last question, something that I always ask people is, what are you enjoying about your role in the education space right now?
Truthfully, I think that I'm learning a lot from other parents because we started homeschooling during COVID. So we were just, I felt like we were all in these little bubbles where there was really no outside help. It was just us. And so then we started to, the world opened up again, and then everybody's getting out more. I love following the parent getting feedback with parent, like, hey, this is what we did with your chickens. This is what we did with what that you created. And so I'm really proud that I can learn as well. Like, I'm getting wonderful feedback, but I love getting new ideas from our parents and then implementing that with our own children. So that's what I've enjoyed the most of the whole process so
That's
far.
awesome. Well, cool. Well, we're all learning from each other. So
Yes.
I'm really grateful. I know I've learned from you, so I'm grateful for
Thank you.
your space,
I
your
really
corner of
appreciate
this
you.
space. And I hope you guys will go check out the Roost at Wolf Pine. Check out what Brittany and her family are doing. And if you have not heard it yet today, wherever you are, thank you for doing what you're doing. It's important, and happy teaching.